Well, hey there, it's Catherine from CatherinePooler.com. Let's make 5 cards from simple to shaker using the Fly Daddy bundle. So we have the Fly Daddy stamp set, the Ways to Say You stamp set, the Wavy cover plate, the Mariner stencil, and this fabulous paper pack. Fun, bright, cheerful colors: Samba, Tutti Frutti, Tiki torch, lime Rickey, Gras skirt, Fiesta blue, and something borrowed, with a great mix of patterns. You're going to have so much fun using these on your card. And don't forget the Blackfoot River sequin mix. So this mix was put together to coordinate with this paper pack and this collection. And I don't know about you, but when I look at this, I think of sparkly fishing lures. Super fun. All right, so the Ways to Say You stamp set was created to go with our Ways to Say Hey dies. So the hello, the howdy, and the hey there. These 3 dies come in a pack of 3 and will be so much fun to use with the sentiments in the Ways to Say You stamp set. So to start out, we're going to make a really simple card. I've already die cut the dies that coordinate with the Fly Daddy stamp set, so I have them on hand and I can just stamp them to go with my various projects. This little hook is so cute, and I thought stamped in lime Rickey would be adorable. And then I'll add some foam tape to the hook so it will pop up off my card, just giving a little extra interest in dimension to this very simple card. So the second card, we're going to start with Tutti Frutti, and I'm going to stamp the one fish multiple times across the bottom third of the card. I'm going to clean it with my picket fence scrubber. This is a great tool to have in your stamp room. It gets in the nooks and crannies, it cleans your stamp really well, and all you need is a little spritz of water. So next up, I'm going to stamp the lime Rickey fish right below the Tiki torch fish, and then some bright Samba red fish above that. So sometimes I stamp and then die cut, and other times I die cut and then stamp. With an image like the fishing pole, I feel like it's a lot easier to stamp and then die cut it. So that's what I did here. I stamped it in something borrowed, and then I die cut it, and then I'm adding some foam tape so that it will pop up off my card for added dimension and interest. And then I'll stamp a couple of the hooks and the little bobber, and I'll start figuring out how I want to position everything on this card. So I'm going to use the sentiment as if it's hooked onto the fishing line, which I thought was really cute. I'm hooked on you, hooked on the fishing line. And then I'll arrange the hook and the bobber. And then, of course, I got to add some sequins. So I'm going to use the Blackfoot River and my Barely Art glue. So this is a new product in our shop. We are totally loving it. The Barely Art glue has a tip kit that comes with it. So there is a tip that you put on for storing it, and it keeps it closed. And then there's a fine applicator tip. And then there's a bigger tip that you can interchange. And then there's also little pins in there so that you can put the pin in the fine tip applicator and it will stay unclogged. So loving this glue. And here is a look at the final card. Quick and easy, super bright and cheerful. I love the plaid on the background. And I'm on to the next one. For the next card, we're going to start with the Hey There die, a strip of patterned paper, and the hubby stamp. We'll just stamp hubby right onto that patterned paper. I love patterned paper like this that has sentiments on it that are small and kind of subtle. It's an added fun element to a handmade card. Then I'm going to stamp a couple of the lures and bait from the Hey There line. So it kind of looks like they're hanging from the Hey There. Isn't that cute? So just use some something borrowed, Samba, lime Rickey, and Tiki torch. And I'll grab my Barely Art glue again. I'm really liking this glue, especially because of how fine a line of glue that I can get with it. So makes adhering really thin die cuts like this a total breeze. I'm using my Ranger craft pick to help me line up the Hey There in a straight line. And then I'm going to use some glue, obviously, to adhere this pattern paper strip across the top of my line of lures and bobs. I have a little bit hanging off the end here, so I'm going to use my haberdashery scissors. I love that they're named haberdashery. And just trim off the excess patterned paper there. Mount this on a card front, and I'm done. Now on to card number 3 using Tutti Frutti, Tiki Torch, Lime Rickey, and Something Borrowed. I'm going to start out with the large fish and just stamp a few of them on the background. The next image, I'm choosing one of the lures and I'm stamping that in Lime Rickey next to the Something Borrowed fish. So I'm building my background by doing this. And then I'm going to take Tiki Torch and do another one of the hooks and stamp those again near the cluster that I've already built, and just continue on filling in with the different lures and fish and hooks until I get a pattern that I'm happy with. For the sentiment, I'm using the postage stamp dies, and I just stamped Your Real Catch on there and die cut it, and I'm just going to add it right to the center of the card, lining it up there right in the center. I also want a die cut fish, and I thought it would be really fun to ink blend it, so I inked part of it in Lime Rickey and part in Something Borrowed, overlapping slightly in the middle and getting a good ink blend between the two colors. If you find that you got some of your dark ink on the lighter ink pad color, you could just run it off on scratch paper or scratch cardstock. If you do it on scratch cardstock, you'll get an interesting color blend on the cardstock, and then you can save that to die cut an image out of, which is really fun. Or you can just dab it up with a paper towel and then re-ink your ink pad. So I'm adding the foam tape to the fish and adding that to the postage stamp die, and then we're all done. And we're on to the final card, which is going to be a dun dun dun, a shaker card. So I'm using the postage stamp dies again. I love using this set of dies for shaker cards. So I die cut a frame, so the largest and the next one down, out of white cardstock, and then I took that largest die and die cut my window sheet out of that and adhere those two together. And then I have to work on some bits for the inside. So I'm stamping a whole bunch of the fish and lures and hooks and bits and bobs, and then I'll decide which ones I want to put inside. Any that I choose not to use, I can just keep on hand. And then here I'm taking a look at, if you stamp an image and your image fills in with ink, you may have a too inky pad. Your ink pad may be too inky, or maybe you're pushing down too hard when you stamp. So I always recommend practicing on scratch paper first. So if your ink pad is too inky, you can just take it and press it right onto a piece of cardstock. Again, save that piece of cardstock so you can do a die cut word or something out of that. And also practice your pressure so that you're stamping down hard enough to get a full image, but you're not stamping down so hard that your fine details getting filled in with ink. Here we are making the shaker part of the card, or the part that keeps all the shaker bits in. So it's the postage stamp die frame and then the postage stamp die cut out of acetate. And then I'm doing the foam adhesive from Gras, and I'm just putting it all the way around the frame so that there are no open spaces for sequins to escape. And for this part, I was doing some stuff and then realized I hadn't hit the play button or the record button, so we missed some. But I just took the howdy and cut the ends of that line off, and then I glued it on so that it follows the curve of the line on the Wavy die cover plate, which I thought was really fun. So I don't know, I've been kind of into doing white on white sentiments with the ways to say hey die lately. I think it's kind of fun. If you want it to pop more, definitely try out a different color. So maybe in black or Something Borrowed. Use direct to paper to color your cardstock, and then die cut it out of any color you would like. All of these colors will coordinate and look awesome. I love the subtle howdy, so I'm keeping it white. And then I'm adding in some fish and lures and baits and hooks and some sequins. And I've got a really fun shaker card. So I hope you're inspired. I hope you enjoyed all 5 of these projects from simple to shaker. And you will use some of these ideas as inspiration for your next card making project. If you haven't already, I hope you will subscribe to my channel and join me again next week for another YouTube video.